Here we go. So my name is Sani Kontulave. I'm the director of the Finnish Institute in St. Petersburg, and welcome to join this event tonight, which we are organizing together with the Finnish Consulate General in St. Petersburg, and which is part of the Nordic Weeks Festival. And this year, the theme of our festival is ecology. And tonight we will talk about a project that brings together green values, food and design in the most innovative and fun way. The project called Zero Waste Bistro was commissioned by the Finnish Institute in New York and implemented in 2018 with collaboration with several Finnish companies specializing in new sustainable materials. Last summer, the concept of the Zero Waste Bistro was shown at the Moscow Design Museum, and now it's here in St. Petersburg at the cultural space called The Lines on Vasily Island. The Lines is the main platform for the Nordic Weeks exhibition this year, apart of course to the program that we have online. But the exhibition called Trash to Fashion can be seen at the Lines cultural space, and it includes design objects, clothes, accessories, jewelry and furniture, all made from recycled materials. And I'm happy to welcome and introduce our speakers tonight. We will hear two presentations on the topic, and after which we will have chance to get some questions from the audience. So first of all, Kaarina Gould, I'm proud to say my former colleague, as she used to work as a director of the Finnish Institute in New York, which commissioned the Zero Waste Bistro project. Therefore, Kaarina had the key role in implementing this amazing project, which was widely covered by international media. And now Kaarina is leading one of the biggest projects in the cultural sphere of Finland, the project of the new Architecture and Design Museum. Kaarina, hello and warmly welcome.
Dobry wieczór. Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh yes, it's great to have you, and to our audience, I hope you understood that Kaarina actually speaks few words in Russian. And we have Heikki Karppinen, the CEO of the Finnish company called Durat. Durat produces unique, sustainable, solid surface material which contains recycled post-industrial plastics and is 100% recyclable. And the interior of the Zero Waste Bistro was made entirely from Durat material. And Durat is very committed to environmental issues and is cooperating with John Nurminen Foundation, which protects the Baltic Sea. And Durat is also a very cool company that values arts and culture and have supported several projects where ecology and art meet. Heikki, hello and welcome.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. So after these introductions, I'd like to invite Kaarina to tell us about the origins of the Zero Waste Bistro and also perhaps a little bit about your current project. Kaarina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. I thought I would say a few words, just a few words about the museum project, and then I'll move on to sharing my experience of commissioning and producing Zero Waste Bistro. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, it is.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so I moved back to Helsinki from New York this summer as I was hired by the city of Helsinki and the government of Finland, represented by the Ministry of Education and Culture, to to lead a project to found a new museum for architecture and design in Helsinki. And this project has been long in the making. Helsinki and Finland, I think, deserve a proper platform for presenting design and architecture, as we have such a strong legacy in these disciplines, and they really are the kind of the key building block in building our society. So the two current museums, existing museums, Design Museum and Museum of Architecture, are in the end going to merge into one, and this new museum will be the National Museum of Architecture and Design. And my job now is to come up with a comprehensive plan that the city and the state and other key founders will then make the final decision about founding and building the new museum. And the idea is that this decision would be made in 2023, and then if all goes well, the new museum could open maybe sometime in late 26, 2027. So that's the plan. And it's a super exciting job, and of course full of challenges and complications, but the goal is so very clear and very much needed. So it is quite inspiring. And there's a website which will be updated actually completely in a few weeks' time, but there's already quite a bit of information there. So it's admuseo.fi if you want to learn a few more things about the museum project. But then to Zero Waste Bistro, which is our main topic for today. And I'm just so happy to see this project sort of flourish and pop up here and there. It kind of shows that something that we did a few years ago is still relevant and still kind of can act as a conversation starter around the world. So it's a project that we did in 2018 in New York. I was then the director of the Finnish Cultural Institute in New York, and we did this project in collaboration with WantedDesign during the New York Design Week in May 2018. But it all started when I moved to New York in 2016. I moved there from Helsinki because of this job, and of course, having already visited New York quite a few times and the US, I thought I was very aware of the society and the culture and the way of life, but somehow in the first months already, the kind of the very overwhelming waste culture just shocked me, and it was very clear from the very beginning that as a small institution as we were, we would need to find a way to make a statement, and I wanted to create a project that would make a statement against waste culture and kind of be a conversation started how we could change our way of life and way of consuming and way of living. And the project turned into this pop-up event, 4 days of food and design, and it turned out to be quite a conversation starter. And I can say a few words about the kind of the outcome of the project and the relevance of the project at the end. But I think, like I said in the beginning, the fact that we are talking about it here now, 3 years after, shows that it was a very much needed conversation starter that we did. And of course, these kinds of pop-up events, they can't change the world, but they can be sort of a temporary laboratory, and they can start a conversation that can then spread the word and kind of change thinking that can have a longer impact. First of all, I wanted to create the whole project around food. Food is actually something that I think that really brings people together. It's always something that people enjoy. It's a magnificent source for conversation and debate to do that around food, and especially around food and wine. But food is also one of the biggest waste producers for food industry in the world. So to do something that was very holistic and very experiential and fun, but then still have a message, about how the food industry, how the hospitality industry should change and could change was the key message that I wanted to do with this project. In New York, I found out at the moment, almost 20% of the waste that goes into landfills is food. And of course, a lot of the rest of the waste is then the packaging and everything that comes with food. And that's a shocking number. And I just actually, before this presentation, I checked what the situation is in Russia at the moment, and it was even more drastic. 1/3 of all food produced in Russia ends up into waste and into landfills, and 34% of waste that ends up into landfills is food in Russia. So even with our little project, even though it's created traction in the world, there's still quite a lot to do in this field. But with the Zero Waste Bistro, we really wanted to raise a question like, what if we would do things differently? What if we would change the way we produce food, the way we consume food, way the hospitality industry works, way the design industry works? What if these questions of sustainability would be at the core and would be really the key of everything that we do? And I think in these 3 years that has passed after we did the project, I think climate change has really become something that we can't just pass anymore. We need to have that as the top line of everything that we do and everything that we think. We need to think how will this contribute into our global fight on climate change. So that in that sense, I think the project really was relevant then, but it's even more relevant now. So we decided to create a space, and I invited 2 curators, Linda Bergroth and Harri Koskinen, to co-create and curate the project with me. So the basic concept to create a space, create an event around food and design and sustainability was very clear, and that it should be or even a radical statement. But then the final shape of the project really shaped up in conversations with Linda and Harri, and then we decided to create a space which would be a very holistic experience, and everything in the space, every object, every item, every concept, every act in the space would be a statement on sustainability. So then I invited Linda to design the space, and the space she created. Let's see if I can change the slide right here. Really kind of shaped and framed the whole experience. So every item in the space sort of represented the values that we had created for this project. So the walls, the framework of the space were created from this recycled material. It's a US-based company actually that makes these board materials out of recycled juice carts and water carts. So it created this wonderful sort of speckled, almost surreal atmosphere in the space. And then Linda contacted Heikki, and Durat and Heikki were inspired and got involved, and they actually custom made the main table and all the kind of the tableware for the project, and that was of course a massive contribution, and the project would have never been the same without Durat's contribution. And Durat, well, you will hear more about their approach to design and circular economy, and but their kind of material innovations were really at the key, and they really well sort of fitted into the narrative of Zero Waste Bistro. But I'll let Heikki talk more about that. And then we collaborated with Finnish design shop and Iittala and Artek on the other materials of the space and the furniture and the lighting. And the idea there was that to be sustainable is not only to not consume, but the way to consume sustainably is to buy things and invest in things that last a lifetime, that the life cycle, long life cycle and durable things are also something that are key in reducing waste, that you should only consume things that you really love, but then that you really want to keep for your entire lifetime and even pass on to the next generation. So that was the message with these kind of iconic Finnish design items from Artek and Iittala that we got through Finnish Design Shop. But then the heart of the project was food and Restaurant Nolla. I think you will have them talking at some of the other events in the upcoming weeks. But they, back in 2018, they were a young restaurant. They had just done a few pop-ups and they were about, I think by the time I contacted, they were about to open their first restaurant. So they hadn't even been open for a day yet. They've just done several pop-ups on this idea of zero waste food and now, of course, 3 years later, they're a super successful restaurant in Helsinki, full every evening and really blossoming. And their concept is very clear. They are an excellent restaurant doing excellent food. They're not compromising the taste. They're not compromising the food concept, but they just don't produce waste. So everything they order into the restaurant, they order without packaging and they use whatever they order to the very last crumble. And if it's not being used in this dish, they'll create something out of it for the next day's menu. And at the center of their restaurant, well, it's actually really in the corner, but sort of at the heart of their restaurant is this massive compost machine that composts food waste into soil in 24 hours. And we had a mini version of that in New York as well. So every bit of food waste that was left from the cooking process and from the diners. I don't think a lot of food was left from the diners because the food was so delicious, but everything was put into that little compost and the next day we would have some soil come out of that compost. And there it's a company called Acklin that produces those magical composting machines that can turn food into soil in 24 hours. And that's, of course, sort of a circular economy as well. The Nolla restaurant guys, they get the food from the producers, from the farmers, and then they return the food waste in the form of the soil back to the farmers. And that, of course, is excellent, very nutritious soil that they get. So they really created the heart and the atmosphere and the soul of the event with their presence and their fantastic food. And for Zero Waste Bistro, like we're talking today, the concept really has lived beyond the 4-day event. We had sold out lunches and dinners and brunches during the event, but the true impact and the true sort of message of the event came from the impact that we created. Nearly every architecture and design magazine and publication kind of recognized the event, and kind of the key reason for that, I think, was that we had this magnificent space, we had this magnificent design, and we had incredibly good pictures of the event. So it was very easy for design and frame and freeze and publications like this to put it on several spreads. So we really got to kind of spread the message because we were very contemporary. We didn't compromise the design aspect at all. And I think back at the time, the notion of being sustainable was somehow associated with with not being so contemporary in design. So I think the kind of the design concept that Linda Bergerud had in creating Zero Waste Bistro was really about this kind of creating something very fresh, something very contemporary, something very even futuristic that still has sustainability at its core. And with that, I think we really succeeded. And I'm just so very happy that this project is being presented there in St. Petersburg and previously in Moscow. I think it's just so fantastic that especially in Russia, where I think the numbers that I looked at today, the waste culture is a very big issue, that this project has been also a conversation starter, and hopefully will be a conversation starter in how the industries of food industry and design and hospitality could maybe change. So with those words, I think I would then leave the word to Heikki.
Thank you so much, Kaarina. And yes, I can confirm that definitely, the topic, of ecology and circular economy and recycling is very, on everybody's lips here in Russia at the moment. So thank you so much for your presentation. And I would like to remind our audience to prepare questions, because after Heikki Karppinen's presentation, we will have a chance to ask some questions from our speakers tonight. But now, Heikki, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody, and thank you also, Kaarina, for that wonderful presentation. Brought back nice memories. We at Durat, we absolutely adored the zero waste concept and the event. And like Kaarina said, it really has stayed alive and inspired so many people, and helped bring zero waste thinking to the forefront. And we were extremely honored to be part of it, and I think it was a meaningful event for us as well. Kind of see tides turning towards more sustainable future. But okay, so I'm here to present our company and our material, Durat. So we are a solid surface manufacturer. We make our composite material out of plastic waste. Out of 30% of the material contains post-industrial plastic waste that we mix into the material, and we use the material in sinks, bathtubs, and it can be fabricated with woodworking tools, with ordinary tools. So we do a lot of custom work, custom designs, vanity units, tabletops, all kinds of made-to-measure units. It's a very long-lasting, hard-wearing material. It's basically ageless. The surface can always be renewed by sanding. So the tabletop will look as good as new in 50 years. So that is basically in an extremely short description of what we do. And what we are here to talk about today is the environment and circular economy. And as you can understand, our company is based on environmental values, on the idea of promoting recycling, recyclability, and caring for the environment. So that is truly in the core of the company. The company was really founded to deal with the problem of plastic waste and to find new solutions for plastic waste. We have quite a lot of work to be done, and what we of course try to do is do our little share of the work. Construction materials in general are a huge part of the problem of what we do. They take about 11% of the global resource consumption annually. And as the world is developing, the resource consumption is increasing and increasing. And OECD has reported that if we continue the same level of resource consumption, by 2050 we would need 3 globes to sustain ourselves, three planets. So of course this is completely unsustainable. So we cannot continue like this. And construction industry has a major factor in this area. Construction industry is also huge amount of the waste generated in the world is coming from the construction industry. You can see here there's it's about the yellow label here is construction industry, and then there's agriculture and other waste generating industries. But construction generates huge amounts of waste. But of course, we are seeing a change happening pretty fast. A lot of the construction industry is moving towards green concepts, green alternatives. De-investing from fossil fuels is becoming more common and common. I think there's news every week of some fund somewhere cutting ties from fossil fuels, driving towards CO2 neutral investment. CO2 neutral negative buildings is a huge thing as well, and it's the biggest or fastest growing construction market within US and Europe. It's growing by about 10% per year and getting a bigger share of the construction materials market, construction market every year. So it's becoming the norm. And of course, what is developing alongside is the accreditations of building materials, of buildings. I'm sure everybody has heard about the LEED certificates, the UK equivalent, the BREEAM certificates, and these kinds of things. We're building more and more of green buildings. So the industry is turning. The industry is trying to face the challenges that we have. And this is, of course, a big, huge opportunity for manufacturers who are already producing sustainable solutions. And circular economy is really a concept that tackles the problem with waste and everything. We're trying to move away from the linear economy to the circular economy. And as we at Durat, we are trying to do this, of course, also in a smaller scale in our own production, with our own product. So we're trying to reduce the use of virgin materials, recycle everything, design everything so that we produce as little as possible and as easily recyclable as possible. I'm sure most of you are familiar with circular economy concept and the 3 R's, for example, the main drivers of the concept. And of course, the transition to circular economy doesn't only conserve resources, but it also reduces environmental and climate impacts. So as we are talking about waste and resources, we are also talking about CO2, climate impact, and biodiversity effects. They're all interlinked, of course. And we are in a state now that we are getting a lot of attention to circular economy. There are a lot of initiatives within the government of Finland, within the EU level, to move towards circular economy. And the change has been pretty rapid in the last, I would say, 2-3 years. We've seen huge amount of interest in talk about circular economy, and we are also getting a lot of new legislation. There's going to be building codes that are going to stipulate what the carbon footprint of a new building, of a renovation, can be. There's going to be EU level regulations on recycling, on waste, and all of these things. So we at Durat, we of course built this is an extremely good development, and we try to be as ready to the future as possible. And one of the most important things for a material manufacturer these days, I think, is to be transparent in everything what we do. So we are, for example, working on an EPD, environmental product declaration, which will gather all the aspects of the waste we generate, the energy we use, everything that we consume, all the resources that we consume, and everything will be presented. All the books will be opened. Transparency, total transparency. And of course, we've been in the business for a long time. We've been making the material for over 20 years, but we still have a lot of things to develop, both on the system level and then also on the product level. So that it's even after 20 years, we are still far away from being an ideal circular economy company, of course. But I think it can be divided into two phases. The development things that we do. First of all, is the physical things that we do in the production development. How we actually manufacture and how sustainably we are able to manufacture. So we've got the green energy, waste reduction, electric transportation, heating system, these kind of things. But that that's familiar with everybody. And then on the other side, we have the material and service development. So of course we want to make the material itself more sustainable, use more recycled content, use less virgin materials, and also use more sustainable virgin materials. But this it's a being or aiming for circular economy. I think that the point here is that it has to include everything that you do. So it's an overall philosophy, and that there's not a single thing within the operation, within the company, that's not taken into consideration. And of course, one of the interesting things, or one of the basic concepts, of course, is to with circular design, circular economy is circular design. Everything that we do needs to start from the point that it has to be easily recyclable. Also, we have to think about material saving solutions. We have to use as little material as possible. We have to use stainless steel brackets that are the most efficient as possible. So these are pretty simple things, and one has to be just aware of them in the beginning, in the design phase already. So when we're making a kitchen top, how do we attach it to the cabinet? Or so we have to think 20 years ahead. When the life cycle of the particular interior is nearing its end, we have to be able to take back the material and easily recycle. So everything really begins with good design and circular design. And we have a lot of concepts for our own waste reduction as well. So all the leftover bits that we get, we either recycle by granulating them, or we use those materials in different types of products, like this quite little vanity unit that we've cut and pasted from excess material. And another really important thing is material development. We constantly we are experimenting with different types of plastic waste that we potentially can use and give a new life to. We're also experimenting on bio-based products to make the base material of Durat more sustainable. But of course, as probably many of you know, there's some issues with that as well. But this is an ongoing thing. We've been experimenting with sea waste, for example, and but there's so many types of plastics and with different characteristics that we want to try to incorporate into our material. And this is just actually a picture of just a simple kitchen top, but the idea with this is that it does not have anything attaching it to the cabinet. So we are using as little material as possible. So it's and on the service side, what we are doing is, because we can recycle all the material that we have made our own material, we offer a service for our clients that we will come back and take back the old Durat products. We'll pay you some money instead of you having to deal with waste charges and these kind of things. And we're gonna refinish the product and resell it. So our goal is to have all of our material come back to us, have a closed material cycle, and all of our products having several life cycles. So everything that we would do would come back to us in some shape or form. And every piece of material that we produce out of virgin material would end up having several life cycles, or perhaps indefinite life cycles. This is, of course, a big challenge for us, how to do that. There's issues, we don't always know where our material ends up, and after 20 years, when somebody is considering a renovation of their bathroom, for example, they might not know that they have a Durat product with them. They might not know that we are actually willing to take it back and recycle it. So getting that closed material cycle into full operation is one of our primary goals at the moment, making sure that no Durat ever goes to waste. That's the goal. The picture here is from a hotel interior that we did about 15-20 years ago in Helsinki. It's called Hotelli Torni, and they did a renovation. And in the suites, they had our vanity units, those kind of red vanity units, that we went in and took them all back. We took them to the factory, refinished them. They looked good as new, and we sold them through our website to private individuals and restaurants, whomever. So these 25 vanity units, they got a second lease of life after serving 20 odd years in a Helsinki hotel. And now they're going to be the next 20 years, hopefully, in some other interior. And of course, we hope that when the second cycle owners plan to make a renovation, we will again get this material back. So I think the idea is really that the material will never cease to exit as waste. And these were, of course, nice little products that we could easily resell, refinish. But if there's some products that we cannot upcycle or recycle in that fashion, we can always take the material in and granulate it. And we can use that granulate to replace virgin materials when making new material. So in theory, we should be able to recycle 100% of everything that we do. And that is, of course, the goal that we have. We are not anywhere near the goal, but we are working steadily towards it. And it's really been inspiring the last couple of years to see how industries, for example, the retail industry, for example, have they picked up the concept of circular design, circular economy. And we really believe that it's the future of building. It must be the future of building. The challenges that we face with waste, with resource scarcity, biodiversity, climate change, all of these, they're all interlinked, and a lot of the problems, a lot of the challenges can be helped to be fixed with the concept of circular economy and with the better use of building materials, not treating materials as indefinite resource that we can just throw away, but as an circulating asset. And I think that the last picture is actually, this is again from this Zero Waste Bistro, and I think it was such a great event, and I think the zero waste target, should be a, not only construction industry, of course, but all through the industry, all through society. And step by step, I think we are moving towards that. And the world would be a much better place when by this transition. All right.
All right. Thank you
Does
so
anyone
much,
have-
Heikki. Thank you, and thank you to Kaarina. And I have a couple of questions that came through during your presentations, and I just wanted to remind our audience once more that now is a good time to leave your questions in the YouTube comments. So please go ahead while I will now quickly translate in my head from Russian to English and read these questions out loud. Let's have first question for Kaarina. Was the Zero Waste Bistro ever shown in Finland? And if it was, how was it? Was there any difference in how it was, viewed by the audience?
Now my microphone is on. No, it wasn't actually shown in Finland, and I think the reason for that, there was lots of demand from Finland to England to other parts in the US, but the way we designed the project to begin with was that everything after the project will be recycled. So there was really nothing left of the project. So the concept of Zero Waste Bistro, I discussed it with a lot of interested parties, that the concept of Zero Waste Bistro could be kind of materialized in almost any way. And it wasn't anything that I felt that we owned as the New York Institute, that I thought that other parties and institutions would be free to sort of do their own interpretation of that concept. But the actual physical construction was so kind of enchanting and engaging that I think people wanted to get that, and that we did recycle right after the event, so that wasn't available to be shipped anywhere after the event. But I think sort of around that theme and concept, like maybe some projects and events have emerged, and now in Moscow and in St. Petersburg, maybe a sort of more direct interpretation of and a presentation of what we did in New York is now present.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, at least we get to, I mean, like you mentioned in your speech earlier, it also has a lot of like, well, let's say visual value. It's just a very beautifully designed, wholesome project, and it still serves as a conversation starter when just the concept of it is being represented. So it works really well. Okay, and Heikki, I have a question for you. Let's see. We've seen that Durat also makes like plates and kitchenware within the design, within the Zero Waste Bistro project. So are these plates safe for people to eat from?
Yes, that's kind of a one-off thing. We haven't really made those much after that, but yeah, it's the material itself. It's used in kitchen tops, and it's been tested as safe for dealing with foodstuffs. So it's perfectly safe. It doesn't emit anything. Or it's perfectly fine.
Thank you. And actually a follow-up question from myself. Does Durat currently produce any sorts of objects for interiors apart from these, surfaces?
Well, we do a lot of different kinds of things, because 99% of what we do is custom work. So, but mostly it is, of course, tabletops, sinks, and these kind of things. But we do shelves and whatever you can think of, we can really produce. by fabrication or molding the material.
Okay, and moving on. Yeah, question for you, Kaarina. So who were the guests in New York, the lucky guests who got to eat at the Zero Waste Bistro?
It was actually open. We sold sort of tickets for brunch and lunch, so anyone who was quick could grab a seat, and I think the prices were quite reasonable, so it wasn't like a super expensive or elitistic event in that sense. But of course the volume was quite limited, because I don't know, maybe you, Heikki, remember better, but I think we had about 25 seats in the space, so each serving was quite small and intimate. So I think the number of people who got to enjoy it live, they were probably sort of came from the design community in and around New York, who were attendees of the New York Design Week and WantedDesign. But we did get some, I mean, of course, I was there. I was around like at every serving and got to talk to quite a few people. So there were like surprising guests as well who had just seen it somewhere, because a lot of also like media who were not so much focusing on design, but more on like sustainability and also food, sort of highlighted the project prior to the event. So there were people outside of the design community as well, which was really nice. But I think then that's sort of the bigger group of people who were kind of somehow involved with not involved, but informed by the event came through the media and social media. So that's how the kind of the word spread around.
All right, and one of the members of the audience is also asking Kaarina to name a couple of Finnish designers that currently work, with recycled materials.
Oh, that's a
It's a tricky one. Yeah, I actually was reading it out loud and thinking that whether I could name anybody myself, but surely like questions like climate change is part of the discourse in the Finnish design and art field, wouldn't you say? So quite many.
Yeah, very, very much so. There's actually a very interesting new player in Helsinki at the moment. It's called Glass House Helsinki, that just opened. There's a website and kind of a concept store in the center of Helsinki that is focusing on sustainability in design. So every item and piece of clothing and piece of tableware and design they sell is sustainably and ethically produced. So instead of maybe naming any design, individual designers, I think that's something to really follow and to look into. Glasshousehelsinki.com. They do a fantastic job in sort of articulating what's topical and what's critical in the design sphere at the moment from the sort of the consumer's point of view.
Yes, very, very good point. And actually, I'm sure that most of our audience will have no trouble finding it online, but also, once we get to travel again and visit Helsinki, I'd just like everybody to know that it's on Aleksanterin Katu, which is the main, one of the main streets in Helsinki, of course, apart from Mannerheimin street. Very close to Stockman, so you may find it there. Glass House Helsinki. Okay, thank you, Kaarina. And actually, I had one question for you, Heikki. Could you kindly tell us a little bit more about the cooperation of Durat with John Nurminen Foundation? Because I learned from your webpage that you have even developed and designed like your own color within the theme and within the collaboration. So could you please tell our audience about that? Oh, Heikki, but first you need to put your microphone on.
Sorry. But yeah, so first of all, John Nurmesen's foundation is working on protecting the Baltic Sea. So they have a lot of initiatives, for example, trying to reduce the emissions from agriculture and these kind of things. So it's a very it's a great foundation. They do a lot of work, good work. They actually do a lot of work in Russia as well, all over the Baltic Sea, trying to reduce the pollution, reduce what is nitrogen input into the sea. So and they've been doing it for a long time. So and we've been supporting them for a couple of years as our primary source of or primary partner, and we have developed a color for them. So about 10% of all the sales of that color goes directly to John Nurmesen. So we call it the Baltic Sea color, white with blue dots.
Very nice. Also very Finnish, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it does.
Okay, let's have one more question, and I think this is a question for either of you or maybe both. Are there any green industry projects in Finland for international volunteers?
Maybe Heikki, you have more information about that. I think maybe John Nurminen Foundation would be someone also. The Herlin Foundation just opened a fantastic new space at the old architecture museum in the center of Helsinki, which will be kind of a hub for green initiatives and fighting climate change. So that would probably be also a platform to look at. I can't remember the website now, but
I'm sure it can be found by just Googling Herlin Foundation.
Yeah, sure, yes.
Heikki, do you have anything to add?
One thing that comes to my mind, we've been wanting to actually sponsor one design and architecture summer school in Bristol in the UK that is run by the local Bristol University, and they have a summer school for architectural students that is based on circular design, and they are building or making buildings out of waste materials. So it's a very interesting concept, a really good school. So we've been promoting that, or wanting to promote that. Of course, with COVID, it didn't happen. We couldn't send anyone from Finland to that school. But that's something I think, you know, if there's some architectural students or students of design could look into that. Bristol University and their waste building summer schools.
Okay.
Not volunteering, but
we got England here too then. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I think we can wrap it up for tonight, as we've also run out of questions. But warm thank you for Kaarina and Heikki for your presentations and participations today. And for all of our audience also, thank you for joining us today. And please check out the exhibition called Recycle and Trash to Fashion, which is shown at the cultural space called The Lines on Vasili Island, 8th line, house number 25. You can also look up the address on our webpage of Nordic Week's There you can find the whole program of the Nordic Weeks this year. And I hope to see you all next Wednesday at 6 o'clock when we will be having another guest who was also had a key role in this Zero Waste Bistro project. He's one of the founders and chef at the Nolla restaurant, Albert Franch Sunier. So we'll be talking about food next week and about zero waste in restaurant business. So thank you once again for the speakers and hope to see our audience next week.